All right, we welcome everybody to another episode of the Polynesian Eyes podcast. You have today Tua in South Central Texas and Tevita Fale from Utah right now. How are you doing today, Dad?
I'm doing fine.
Yeah, staying busy out there. Is it getting cold?
No, it's warm, but
Oh,
down here in the basement here, it's kind of cool.
yes, that's one of the nice things about being in Utah is having basements. Here in Texas, we don't really have basements, and as you know, especially here in San Antonio, where it's all rock everywhere, so basements are not something that we have. But we're excited to be here today, Dad, and wanted to go through a topic, as you guys may have seen in the banner in the intro to the program today. We want to talk about the origins of Polynesian civilization and the Tongan civilization, and kind of walk through some discussions with Tevita Fale here, and just kind of go where you want to go, Dad. How do you want to start? Do you want to talk about that question that you get quite a bit and kind of talk about the origins and just go from there?
Yeah.
So from your experience, Dad, what are the different ideas that are out there on our origins, and what's your belief on where the Polynesian civilization originates from?
Uh, when they first found Tonga in Polynesia, the foreigners said, we come from Southeast Asia.
Mm-hmm.
And that's their ideas. But Tonga, the center of Polynesia, in our history for more than 3,000 years, they believe and talk about it, where we come from. We come from Vaihi, the faraway land. And that's why I want to talk about it. That's the view from the foreigners. What is the view of our people? Our people view, we come from, and our oral history said, we come from Vaihi, the faraway land. This is America.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for more than 3,000 years in our oral history. That's about 70 to 80 years ago. About the same age with me, they wrote down our history. We come from Taiwan, and they used the claypot Lapita, and they call us the Lapita people. And all the scientists said our culture from the Lapita, it was start from the claypots. Today, and all these years, we are Lapita people. No Lapita anywhere in Polynesia or in the Pacific. Our people believe where we come from, and we know our history. Our people name many places in Polynesia to Vaihi, where we
Okay.
come from.
So if I understand correctly, what you're saying then is the Europeans come, they show up, right? And they see the Polynesians and they say, these people must have come from Southeast Asia. One of the main reasons is Lapita. Where did the word Lapita come from?
That's a mistake of the scientists from the language, the words from New Caledonia as expeta. That's the name of the words,
Okay.
meaning where to take a hole. That where to take a hole. and they write it down Lapita. There's no Lapita at all in New Caledonia. Or
Let me just look this up real quick so we can share it on the screen, Dad. So what if I understand correctly, what you're saying is even the word lapita is a mistake. It's not even the correct word for it.
yes,
Okay. So according to this here, it says that the lapita was coined by an archaeologist after mishearing a word by the local Haveke language, siapetaa, which means to dig a hole or place where one digs, during
yeah,
the 1952 excavation in New Caledonia. So really, the word lapita doesn't even really exist. It's a mistake.
yes,
Okay. And they say because that we come from there, because, and just to kind of click on the picture here so people can look at it. This is where they are saying where we came from, right? So come from Southeast Asia and come through Papua New Guinea and Melanesia and then to Tonga. So that's what
yes,
they currently believe right now.
yes,
And all because they found pottery in Tonga.
yes,
Okay. So that's there's that theory, and our oral history says no, we come from Vaihi. And what is Vaihi, and is that a word, like you're saying it's been used throughout the Polynesia? Like what areas would have like the name Vaihi?
in Tonga, we, our history said Tonga was the first place to settle by Maui and Tangalos from Vaihi. They named one place in Tonga Vaihi, two places in Hawaii named Vaihi, one place in Vava'u named Vaihi. And when they found Samoa, they named the main island of Samoa Vaihi. This is Hawaii today.
So Savaii is in remembrance, just like all the places in Tonga is in remembrance of Vaihi, where we originate from.
Yes. And they also name a place in Niue Vaihi, Tahiti. Lalotonga or Cook Island, they name a place over there Vaihi.
Okay.
Another place in Tahiti. When they found Hawaii, they named the main island of Hawaii Vaihi. This is Hawaii today.
Okay. So it seems like when new lands are discovered, the main island in that general area many times takes the name of Vaihi because that's the main origin that we come from.
Yes.
Okay. Any other information on Vaihi besides it's the faraway land? Any other information in the oral history that, because right now what we're saying is that Vaihi is the Americas,
Yes.
right? So right now, a lot of the academics say we have genetic material from Southeast Asia and Melanesia and the Lapita pottery, and that's what brings us here. But your experience is no, we didn't come from the West; we came from the East, from the Americas. Correct? Is that the kind of what you're
Yes.
expressing?
And the DNA of the people in in America, both North and South, we have the same DNA too
Okay.
over there. But what I'm looking at as a Tongan uh, and also a farmer, everything we have, we build mound for our civilization, for everything, religious, political, social, science, and economic.
Mm. So this is just a quick search I pulled up here. This is 2020 in July, saying that they have DNA markers back as early as the 1500 to 800 BC, going from South America to Polynesia, and that they found those are some of the DNA markers that you've expressed that shows that relationship. And then there's other articles that show DNA movement from the Americas into Polynesia, but that is not your primary claim though, right? Because there is DNA from Southeast Asia as well. um, but what are you basing as the primary data source or information that's pointing to America or the Americas rather than Southeast Asia?
Beside the mound builder, that's the main thing in Tonga, our culture. We build mounds for everything: political, social, religions, science, and economic. And all the original food we have in Polynesia, our people brought it from America, not from Southeast Asia. The religions, we have the mounds
Mm-hmm.
for burial. About 100% of every cemetery in Tonga start from a mound. And when the more people, they bury around the mound. Every cemetery in Tonga. The Taiwanese, Melanesians, their culture, they don't get mound to
Mm-hmm.
be part of their culture. That's why it was hard for me to believe everything they were, the scientists, the foreigners, used to be our origin. They still stick with what they believe. They don't come. I'm on my 70s. I never had any scientist come from Tonga and ask our, what about our history. I
Mm-hmm.
never had any foreigners come to Tonga and ask for our history. Like I said, always said, Maui and Tangalos. That's the title in Polynesia from the beginning.
Okay. So there's a couple things here I think we can take a look at while we're here. And the first one is to kind of go back to what you were mentioning earlier, this civilization or this idea of mound builders, right?
Yes,
Um they are found all over the Americas, right? North and South America. They're building mounds. They're also found kind of in the Egyptian area, but from what I understand and what you're expressing here is yes, there's genetic, yes, there's agricultural ties, but the most important thing is we're talking about the civilization and the idea that built the Polynesian Empire are the ideas that were shared amongst the mound builders that were brought from the Americas to Polynesia and specifically first in Tonga, correct?
yes,
And that is evidence of not only the mound builders that are found throughout the Americas. And just to kind of close it out, these are scans that have been done on Tongatapu, the main island, where they have found tens of thousands of man-made mounds. Like for example, I mean, here is a, let me see if I can just zoom in a little bit over here. This is the actual LiDAR that was done, the scanning, and you can just see it's just covered with man-made mounds. And then when you zoom out for the entire island, every red dot is a man-made mound that they found on Tongatapu. So this is not like just a couple things, couple people wanted to build a mound. This was a active part of the civilization, the founding fathers of Tonga, and eventually all of Polynesia.
like I always talk about the Polynesian civilization. They build mound for everything: religious, political, social, science, and
Hmm.
economic. That's part of mound they have in Tonga. We live on the we build on the mount, live on it, and when we die, we bury on the mount.
Yes, and that again, and that's something I think that's a lot of people don't understand. Dad, is we've
Yes,
had certain comments from videos on the podcast that a lot of people think that these mounds, like the Langi and the Fare and so forth, they were only burial sites. And a lot of people don't understand that the burial site is when they die, then it becomes, but it was actually the residence of the kings in Tonga, were the Langis, and then only after they passed away that they were buried there, correct?
yes.
Okay. And let me, I'm just gonna try and pull something up here real quick. Um, let me see here if I can pull this up. Anything else that you want to kind of talk through, Dad, while I pull this up?
Yes, the food.
Mm-hmm.
I am a local farmer all my life in Tonga. They talk only about kumara from Captain Cook. We have kumara tapioca, eh? Tahina, there's squash, potatoes, all about 80% of our food from we plant and eat all the way from the past all the way up to this day. Almost every food we eat in Tonga and plant from original from America.
Yeah.
Our culture run by a king. Eh? Our religions, we have circumcised before Tapalangi came. And we believe life after death for more than 3,000 years.
And I think also what's interesting, and I believe it was George Vason, he said that when he observed our ancestors, that they had many customs that was very similar to the house of Israel, like how you treat yourself when you deal with the dead, right? And how you have certain customs of behavior that that has a religion that believed in the afterlife, which is the same thing that was in the Americas as well, right? There was an understanding of the afterlife from the mound builders in the Americas. A quick question: how is it? So let me put this up just so we can look at it so that people understand. So this is Tonga, there's Fiji, um, and Niue right here, Samoa to the north. Now, what we are saying is, so this is where Tonga is right here. We'll zoom in. This little spot right here, Tonga Tapu, and that our ancestors came all the way from the east, from the Americas, North and South America, went west and found Tonga Tapu. How is it that they passed everything else? How did they get to Tonga Tapu specifically? Why didn't they go anywhere else? Kind of give some, any of the oral history, give us an idea as to why they came here. There, there are so many islands along the way. What brought them to Tonga specifically, or how did they decide this is the place, so to speak?
Our people believe God. Their God,
Mhm.
real name is uh, Hikureo, the voice.
Okay.
No different from what, say, it was Hikureo in Tonga, but Jehovah in
Israel.
Palestine, in Israel.
Okay.
And when I look at our oral history, we believe our religions, they call it Lotumua. Eh?
Mm-hmm.
And when the Christian missionaries first come to Tonga in 1797, and they call the Christian religion Lotumui, the later
Religion.
religion. And see, our Maui and Tangaloa was lead to Tonga. That's the god, their god Hikureo. And when the Christian missionary came with the uh, belief of the religious belief, only the name was different. And our
Mm.
people believe it. They join the Christian uh, religion because it's no different from, not much different from the Lotomoa, the old religion. In the Lotomoa, they believe life after death,
Mm-hmm.
eh? And they do uh, the kamu,
Circumcision.
yeah, circumcision, and only different from the Lotomu and Lotomui, Sihova, eh? The
So different
old name,
name. Yes.
different name, but that's the same religion. Our people believe Purotu is the spiritual world. The new Lotomui believe heaven and hell.
Mm.
Our people believe uh, uh, Pulotu aka aka and Pulotu mau. Pulotu aka aka equal to hell.
Mm.
There's no rest over there. And
It's not peaceful.
Pulotu to mau is peaceful like heaven. That's only different.
Different
Well,
names, but the ideas
yeah,
and the beliefs were there were quite a bit of similarities.
yes, and
So, oh, go ahead, Dad.
that's why our people, it was easy for them to join the Lotomui.
The Christian religion, because it really, it's it had echoes of the original religion that
Yeah,
already existed. So,
that's
if I understand, oh, go ahead.
another thing. It's very important in our history in Tonga. 1797. That's when L.M. Lamosata first uh, missionary to came to Tonga.
Mm-hmm.
And the same year, the last to Tonga, my fifth great grandfather was born then. And Tupou the first was born in the same year. The Lotomui or Christian came to Tonga. And when the problem happened in uh, happened to the Tongan Empire or Putanga Tonga, Tupou the first asked to our God, Hikureo or Jehovah, to save Tonga. You think it's Jehovah do the same thing as Hikureo, the different name. And I believe our Tonga was saved for the same reason why uh, they brought Maui and Tangaloa from Vaihi to the middle of the ocean to the last place for the human to settle.
Mm. So, so just so we can kind of just let everybody get a visual of what you were just mentioning here, and that is Tonga was not found by chance. That Maui, Tangaloa, and the Taulas, or the priests, were led by Hikuleo, his voice, and he guided them specifically to this location. This was They did not find Tonga by chance. It was not an accident. They were led there specifically by their God, and their God led them there, and it is the same God that came back and protected Tonga to keep its independence when Christianity returns.
Yes.
Okay. What are we've talked about the mound builders. I've also heard some people online talk about the Lo'au, and some of them have said that that comes from Samoa and that they were brought over to Tonga. What is your thoughts? Because I mean, isn't Lo'au an important part of the Tongan or Polynesian civilization? What kind of details can you share about the Lo'au and where they're from, and their influence in Tonga?
In 1797, that's when the Christian church religion first get to Tonga.
Okay.
Tonga already have the title Lo'au for more than 3,000 years.
Okay.
That's Lo'au means the end way or end civilization. They built mound. That's what the Maui and Tangaroa brought from Vaihi, the mound builder.
Mm.
It was not happen as a lucky history or thing like that. Everything come from Vaihi. And all of these years I've been talking about it. All the foreigners don't listen
Hmm.
because they don't understand the history of Tonga. And when you look at the map of Tonga, why they built so many mounds for everything
Yes.
we do.
And just so as a reference for the viewers and the listeners, um let me share this page right here so that we can just see that there are, like the ant people, that this is things that the viewers and the listeners can go and search and look at these things themselves. There are ant people in the Americas. There These type of civilizations and this type of culture of the mound builders are found um, throughout the Americas, and that is like you're mentioning. These are the same cultural, astronomical, um, civil engineering type of culture that was brought to Tonga. That Tonga can has existing in their land to this day. Like, this is not something that was just happened out of nowhere. These are civilizations that spread to our people from the Americas.
Yes, I familiar with that because my grandfather in early 90s, he started a group of workers.
In what year? What year was this? 19
1910 or 12,
1910. So early 1900s.
yes. And he named his group Law, means end.
Mm,
And both, about 10 of them, they almost all of them built a wharepapa, the modern house
hmm
in these days. And they have a financial group. They lend money to people because they follow what the ends way of life. eh,
The
And
working together as a
yeah,
team, working hard and working together.
is and Lo'au was the name. I had what they people said Lo'au in Samoa. No, Samoa was found from Tonga
Mm.
and very close to Tonga, Samoa, and everything we have in Tonga next is Samoa. Samoa, some people said Samoa have the civilized before.
Yes, many people make the claim that the cradle of Polynesia is Samoa, and that's where it originates from.
And where is Samoa today? There is a reason why Tonga was lead to Tonga by their god, Hikureo.
Mm.
And Samoa, the main island, was named from Tonga to Vaihi. It was not Samoa was the first. A lot of Tongan education, they come up with some new ideas, try to write our history.
Why is that? Why is it that not only the foreign academics have tried to write our history to come from, Lapita or Taiwan, or, when I was younger, there was a lot of talk about Mongolia. But also our own people have come up and not only adopted some of those ideas, but then have added on to say, you know, Polynesia originates from Samoa. There's these, a lot of discussion about the Tu'imanua Empire, and that predated the Tongan or the Tu'itonga Empire. And there's even other talks about Pulotu Fijian Empire. Like, where do these ideas come from, and what is their thought process on that? I guess I'm trying to understand, where do those ideas come from?
You people just try to do new things.
Mm.
A lot of Tongan educate people try to put out Samoa. Why Samoa named Samoa? The chicken. Tongatapu is they Maui and Tangalos named Tongatapu. That's a secret of the South. From the past all the way up for today.
Mm.
And just look at why there is no part of Taiwan, the mound builders, or Papua New Guinea. They don't believe that. They never
Yeah.
know about that. That thing was not such Tongans come up with a new idea. No, it was come from Vaihi. I, that's I don't understand why our people don't listen. They listen to the clay pot. There's no important clay pot.
Yes, and I think that's another important thing, and I think, you know, the fact that even our people, like you've mentioned, and I think this is a good spot to bring this up, and this is important, I think, for a lot of the listeners. um Tevita Fale has a website, thfale.com. So thfale.com. You can find a lot of the articles that he has put together to have a discussion on a lot of these items that we're discussing here, including, you know, the origins and where Maui and Tangalos are from, because all the academics, all the scientists, they all say Tangaloa and Maui were gods or demigods, right? And even our own academics, our own people have decided to adopt that belief that Tangaloa and Maui and so forth, that they are demigods or gods, when our oral history for thousands and thousands of years have said they were men. That Tangaloa was a title, just like the Tuitonga, that was assumed by each person who inherited it, just like Maui. How did that get lost in our oral history? Is it just because our people decided just to, you know, follow the Western way of believing and discard it, and they think our ancestors just weren't smart enough people, or what's how and why did that happen from your perspective?
The thing is, they think when they go to the Western school, have academic degree, and our people, they look, even the Tongan look down on our people
Mm-hmm.
because they don't know our history. I was glad I grew up in Moa. When I was really young, I, I sit about every Sunday together with the old folks. When I was really young, listen to them. That's why I mentioned in the last program, I was sent to America not to study about academic, doing the tech
The
education.
trade work, yeah.
Yeah, I came over to America. I get to work on our history. And no, like I mentioned before, no one's stupid enough to do what I did. I
So
pay, I spend all my time in my whole life, spend every penny I make to pay my way back and forth everywhere I went. Like I said, was lucky to find a palangi like your mom. I know she mentioned it sometimes. She hate our history because I spend most.
expensive history.
Yeah, she hate that, but I can't change it. That's
Hmm.
what God make me do
Yeah.
for our people.
So if I understand this, what I'm hearing is this: that Hikuleo brought your ancestors from America to Tonga, to, like you said, to hide our ancestors in the last part of the world to be settled, the last part of the world to be discovered. Then Hikuleo said, Tevita Fale, go back to America. And you thought you were going back to America because you were going to go to school and maybe go find a job, but you didn't know that Hikuleo was just sending you to America to open your mind and your heart, and also to find a good partner to do this work with you, and then come back to Tonga to remind our people that the God that they pray to today is the same God that brought them there in the first place. And not only is the same God who brought them there, but also the same God that protected them from all the powers in the world and kept them as an independent people. That seems to be kind of like the summary of what you're saying in your life story and the origins of our people.
It is hard for me to talk about our history. I have a hard time to hold the tears from my eyes
Mm,
because people don't realize how hard it was yet. In every way, time I left you guys in America and I keep coming to Tonga and the Polynesian Islands. And we moved to Tonga. I leave you guys here in Tonga and I keep going back to America to work, to make enough time for me to have a little retirement, plus help raise our family. That's why it was really hard. Anytime we talk about history, it is hard for me.
mhm.
It's been my heart.
Yes, and I think maybe it'd be a good. Let me see if I can find it, but maybe if we look and just have a conversation, because before we talk about this portion right here, and let me just get it a little bit bigger. This is Hokula, where the Maui and Tangaloa and the Taula first landed, but they were in Ata, correct?
And Atta fish.
Okay. So let me just see if I can find um a map here. So kind of give the narrative. So they come from the Americas and they go to Ata. And let me see if I can find a map here. And then what happens when they get to Ata, Dad?
And the second place to found is Tongatapu.
Okay.
And they land around Fatuma in this area. That's where they have all the names connect to America.
Yes. So just so people can kind of see, this is where Ata is. So Ata is kind of southwest of Tongatapu.
Yeah.
Um, is it like what, 100 miles off? Do you have a general idea of how far away this is?
Yeah.
So
It's
it's about
more than
100
100.
miles, more than 100 miles
Yeah.
southwest. So they first land in Ata, and we're talking about Maui, Tangaloa, and the priests. They land in Ata, then they send a group to go to Tongatapu.
They moved. They found when Tongatapu was found. They moved over there.
They moved over there.
Yeah.
And then that's when we come back to this one,
Yeah.
right? So they come, the first landing is Hokula in this
Yeah.
area on Tongatapu, which
They
would
name
be,
it. They name Hokula after the place in Vaihi, a religious place, one of the oldest settlements in Vaihi, Hokula.
And what is the name of is that the Cholula?
Yeah, Sorula and Hokula in Tongan.
Okay. I'm going to just pull it up for a reference for the listeners here. So that's in Mexico, correct? And it looks like let me see, they have some ruins over there. Some ancient ruins that they have over there in Puebla, Mexico. Let me see if I can find ruins. And what was so special about Cholula? Why was that something that was important to Maui and them?
Sorula is a religious place in America, in Vaihi.
Okay. So that's where some of the great pyramids are, and so that's where Hokula comes from.
Yes, and they Sorula in Vaihi, but in Tongan there's Hokula, and they name different places in the Kingdom of Tonga to Hokula. Also, a group of stars for navigation named Hokula.
Okay. And what is what is that constellation in English? Is there an English name for that constellation?
I think that's one of the red star, I think, on Hamonga Maui
Okay.
in
In
the
the
sky.
sky.
Yeah,
In the sky. Okay. So that's a part of Orion, the
yeah,
constellation Orion. Okay. So they come to, let me come back here. They come to Hokula, they land there, and then eventually they split off into three
yes,
locations, correct? Can you just
yes.
kind of give a summary of those three locations and why, if there was any specific reason why they went to these locations?
The west side, the Hihifo side, that's where the religions, the priests over there. And in the
Okay.
middle, where around Folaha and Longteme, there was a high spot over there where the Tangaloa family lived.
Okay.
And the east side where the Maui family lived. And where the Maui's family, they have the one place in Tongatapo. Around there, they call to Vaihi.
Okay. So there was a place in where Maui stayed where they named after Vaihi.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long, do we have any idea how long? So this is where Tangaloa lived. Do we have any idea of how many years that the Tangaloa were holding that title? Do we have, or is that kind of just so far back? It's a challenge to try and understand.
When they moved to Tonga after founding Ata, they
Hmm.
moved to Tonga. The Tangaloa family from they were the Tangaloa was the first Tongan title from 1000 BC to around 480. That's the last Tangaloa. His son was the first to Tonga.
Aho Eitu.
Auetu. From 450 Auetu to 1865. That's that's the last Tuitonga,
Mm.
La Fulitaunga. And 1797, I think I mentioned earlier, that's a very important year in Tonga for Tongan history. That's when the last Tonga was born and the first Christian king of Tonga was born in 1797.
The same
To,
year.
yeah, to both affairs and love Fulitaunga. And the same year, the Christian religion first get to Tonga.
What is your response to people who say Langi was in the heavens, Tangaroa was a god, um, and in fact was a Samoan, and Aho Etu climbing and going up to the sky on the toa tree, that Tangaloa was not a real person, that was like some kind of god that Tongans and the Samoans had.
That's, I mentioned in the last program, the main problem with the Tongan language. They tell a story, but the story, the real meaning of story behind the meaning of the story
Hmm.
is not the words. Because they said Maui live under land, Lalofonua. No. Tangaloa live in Langi. That's where Tangaloa live. Name of the mount they live on, their home.
Yeah.
And Hikureo live in Pulotu. And they always point to the west because in the Tongan, the east where the sun rise and set to the west. The same thing in the morning. Same thing with the way our life. East, that's where the beginning of our life, when we were born, and set, that's when we die.
Mm.
That's a many different things. You have to really dig in, try to understand the story, because most of the Tongan whananga or story, we call it heliaki or whakapunake. It's not the direct language like the Palangi. That's
So it's a
why,
totally different way of thinking and approaching history.
yes, when they talk about Maui went fishing and he got a hook and pull up all the Tongan, that's the group of star look like the Matawa Maui. That's one of the constellation for sailing.
Mm.
It's not who can pull up a country from the bottom of the ocean. The sky where the stars used for sailing, and they found the country for using the stars.
I think that's a very important concept there. What other so Tonga is seems to be very closely associated with Maui's hook, right? For navigating for Tonga. What other islands in Polynesia carry a name or still connected to the constellation that they're associated with on how to navigate towards that island? Are there other islands in the Pacific that have a similar relationship to constellations?
The island from the east, where the Easter Island, eh?
Hmm.
And set to the west there, where they call Te Fiji, that's Fiji,
Okay.
set to the west. And Hamonga Maui, the one right from the east all the way up, go to the west in the location where the sun travel. That's why they call it uh, Halatui, the king's road, or use the king representing the sun. Eh?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. They don't have exactly any stars, uh, but they kind of figured out from at night they use the Maui's road, and in the daytime they use the location of the sun. That's why it was very important. The two road, Maui and Tangalos road.
And so basically, it was a understanding of the patterns that gave them direction to know how to identify and locate specific islands regardless on the time of day or the time at night
Yeah, and the seasons.
and the seasons, the time of the
Yeah,
year that they're
yes.
in. Okay. Um Anything else you want to touch on specifically on any additional items? We've talked about some genetic ties, we've talked about some agricultural ties, we've talked about the mound building, the ant people connections to Vaihi. We've talked about Vaihi and its interconnection to names throughout Polynesia. Any other kind of data points or topics you want to discuss that further indicates, oh, and our oral history, right? The Tongan oral history has always stated we come from Vaihi and that Vaihi is to the east. Um, Anything else that you want to kind of share in regards to our origins pointing to Vaihi and not to Taiwan and Southeast Asia and Melanesia?
When you look at the knowledge we have, like I mentioned, I try to find out where the connection to Maui
Mm-hmm.
and his knowledge. No other place except Vaihi. The mound builders, the gate of the sun, and the knowledge for farming, fishing, everything connect to the ocean. That's from Vaihi. There's no connection at all to the Lapita because there was no Lapita people or culture. The foreigners make Lapita as our origin.
Yeah.
It makes me upset many times. When I think about it, the Lapita, I don't sleep the whole night. Why no Tongan question it? That's the mistake.
Yeah. And that's something I guess we can, let's bring this up. And once again, we highly invite all the listeners and the viewers to visit thfale.com. Some of the items that are kind of referenced here is a lot of these information is found on Tevita Fale's website, on his articles. We'll mention a couple of them. One here is that astronomical knowledge that he's mentioning, and how that's really directly related to
Tangaloa, Taito.
Tangaloa, especially this reference here with the tongue coming out. That is a direct reference to Tangaloa in the Americas. We also have other types of information. For example, the Ha'amonga. And as you can see, this is a sun gate in the Americas and the Ha'amonga in Tonga. There is a lot of astronomical knowledge that is relevant. There's the mound building of the mounds that are in the Americas as they are in Tonga. So really, there is a lot of data points that point back um, to our origins from Vaihi. Let me see here real quick. Anything else, Dad, you want to bring up while I try to pull up some of? Do you want to look at some of the star maps that you have, or anything else you want to look at to
Uh,
discuss?
go back to the get the Taumafakava map.
Okay, let me just sign in here real quick. I'm gonna just go into the back end of the website so we can look at all the images that we have in there.
The Taumafakava, the Tuitonga's Kava was not Taumafakava.
Oh,
It
it
was
wasn't.
Fulitaunga.
Hmm.
That's the Kava of the Tuitonga.
That I did not know that.
The meaning for
Oh,
Fulitaunga means when they turn the knowledge of astronomy from the sky and put it on and use
on
it.
the ground for the kava ceremony. Okay.
Yes,
So what? Okay. Um. Let me just scan through here real quick to find the images for the. So where does Taumafakava come from then?
they says change it because the direction for the Fulitaunga, the Kava of Tuitonga, that's Fulitaunga. And
So, oh, go ahead, Dad.
the meaning of Fulitaunga, they turn down, they bring the sky down
Hmm.
and use it for a Kava ceremony.
Okay. So just so I understand correctly, and I think this is important while I look and add and we'll find the Taumafakava, the Fulitaunga one. So if I understand correctly, the Tuitonga's kava was called what again? Fulitaunga,
Yes,
and it was because it was a representation of these, basically the astronomical knowledge in the skies in the kava ceremony. Correct?
yeah, Fulitaunga, something they bring it,
Like Furihi,
Taungas,
turn
some,
around,
yeah,
and from hanging up in the sky,
yeah, and bring
flip
it
it from
down.
hanging in the sky and bringing it down to the earth.
Yes,
Okay.
and
So
they
go ahead.
and they use for Kava ceremony. That's the Fulitaunga. Uh, that's the real Tongan
Kava
uh,
ceremony.
astronomy. Eh?
Oh, there we go. So this one.
Yeah,
Actually, you know what? I think I may have. Let me see if I can find. I think I downloaded this image so that we can look at it a little bit better. But so what? Right now we're gonna walk through. You want to walk through the walk through the kind of the setup of the kava ceremony, correct?
yes.
Okay. Let me try and download it real quick. And a quick question is where and how did were you able to track this information? Was this discussions with the listening to the ancestors, the oral history?
In our history said that's the cover of the Tonga, Fulitaunga.
Okay.
And the cover for the they gave to Tupo to the Taumafakava. Yeah. On the top left
Yeah, I'm gonna
map,
try and zoom in.
the top one, right there.
Yes.
That's Fulitaunga.
Okay.
Eh? That's the Polynesian real,
Kava ceremony set up right here.
yes, the Tuitonga cover ceremony. The Olowaha from the east,
This area right here.
no, the other side.
Oh, this side.
Yes, that's where the Olowaha. They follow the sun to the west,
So
where
this
the,
line right here.
yeah,
Okay.
where the Toa.
And this is where the
Uh,
highest ranked or the
yeah,
Tuitonga sits here.
yeah,
Okay.
and straight the line to the Toa.
To
Yeah,
right there.
that's the Toa. That's the west. The two roads for going into the circle. Eh? That's
Yeah.
where
So
the people come
this.
in to serve the kava and bring something inside. Down, that's the Tongan direction. The other one in the bottom, Taumafakava. That's Taumafakava right there. It was used the Western knowledge. Look
So
at where,
they switched it.
yes,
They reversed the direction.
yes. The Taumafakava they use the Western direction. Look at the Toa
Yeah, it's
and
on the east.
yes, and the Olowaha on the other side. That's the difference.
Mm.
Look at the Taumafakava, look the name up, that's Olowaha. That's the Tonga's cover. The top. Look at Fulitaunga. Look at the
Yeah,
name.
right here.
Yes, they have
And,
all. Eh?
and then so that's what traditionally was done. And then when the Tuitonga set up for the current king, the Taumafakava, this is the setup that the Farefa gave
Yes, the
for
Tuitonga
them.
and the Farefa set up that one, and they send one of the uh, Farefa to Nuku'alofa and set
Gave
up.
that direction
Yeah, that's the cover for La Fulitaunga. For
to
to
pull the
pull the
first.
fish.
What was? Do we have any idea as to why it was done this way? Was this to kind of hide a little bit our traditional setup, or
It's
do we have any?
connect to the direction. The direction up, that's the real Tongan direction. The
Mhm.
bottom, the Taumafakava, it's set it up uh, to the new
To the
direction.
Europe, yeah, the European way
Yes,
of thinking. But I guess the question is, did they do that just to signify, yep, this is the change, this is how things are going to move forward, or what? Do we have any understanding as to kung whakailonga pe that hey, os ye time ye tu itonga, it's time for a new time, or what
Yes.
kind of like going from Tangaloa to Aoeitu. Now it's going, from Tangaloa to Tuitonga. Now it's going from Tuitonga to
Uh, the
the
Tuitonga
Christian king.
and that's the Taumafakava for the first Christian king of Tonga, to vote
Okay.
the first. And you understand the two religion. The
Yes.
old religion, they name places to Purotu. They also have a two Tuitonga were named Tuipurotu.
Mm.
And people, eh? We have it all, like I said, in our tradition. Look at the map. It
But how
was,
about if I wanna find Pulotu in Fiji?
you can find, there's a Purotu in Tonga. It
Yeah,
might be some Purotu in Fiji, but the difference is the sunrise
the
is
sunset.
compared to our life.
Yeah.
Ah, in the
Every
morning,
yeah, the rising and the setting.
yes, I used to
They so
joke.
they oh, go ahead, Dad.
I used to joke about it when I speak at some of the school overseas. I was born in 1950. No one know the truth. If the Palangi tell lies about our history, we can do it too, because that's our history.
Yeah,
But but you have to find out something to agree with your story. It was hard to try to do it because, like I said, heriaki in Tongan or
yeah,
whakapunake. Our language was not direct. But I did my best.
yeah. No, this is and this is important. And I think this is, in some of the other discussions on other podcasts, Dad, these are the type of details and the type of complexity that show that Tonga is the center of the Polynesian Empire. This is where the main culture, the main knowledge that the Polynesian Empire was built off of, right here.
Yeah. And where else you can find something like that?
Yeah,
Eh, Talk about real life, the past, and the future. Talk about religions. It is unbelievable what our people did, how smart they were, and how much they know about nature.
yeah. And I think the world, and this is actually good timing on a lot of this information that you're bringing to the table, because the world, especially in the last 3 years, science, the modern day science has been very helpful in a lot of things, but we also come to recognize some of the weaknesses of modern day science. And modern day science has tried to tell us to ignore our ancestors, to ignore these stories that have been carried around in not only orally within our culture, but I think in many ways, in a sense, even within our blood. This story is written in our DNA, and science, modern day science, has tried to tell us to forget about that and just move forward, only focus on modern day science, where I don't believe we have to pick one and leave the other. I think we can do both. I think we can bring and accept all the benefits of modern day science, and also remember all the knowledge of our ancestors and get the best of both worlds and bring it together. But too often, I think the academic world and the scientific world has tried to ignore our ancestors and the knowledge of the past, and rewrite the past in many ways. And that's a bad thing, because there's too much knowledge, there's too many positive things that our ancestors are trying to help us remember. And I think that is a big part of the work that you have been a part of. And this is why Hikureo told you, you just go to America just to find out to come back, because God wants us to remember that he brought us to our little islands, and he came back to and reintroduce us to him, but not to forget that he was the one that led us there. And there was a lot of knowledge that he gave us, and he wants us to remember. And I think that's many of the important things that you have been able to bring to the table. And as our viewers can see from here, there is a tremendous amount of other pieces of knowledge that is also found in the Taumafakava and in many of the star maps that you've developed. And I think maybe in future episodes we can touch on some of the significance of the constellations, what they were used for. But with that being said, Dad, any closing remarks before we kind of close out our episode for today?
I supposed to die around 1953 when I was around 3 years old.
Mm.
And I believe I was saved
For a reason.
to do this work. We came from Seasia Islands. My parents and us. That's 4 of us kids. And we come to the place called Manavanga, between Kauai and Nukureka.
Okay. Let me pull it up here, Dad. So as you're recounting this, we can zoom in.
That's where Seasia down go to Kauai area.
So there's Nugureka. Is
Yeah.
this Kauai right here?
Yes, but between Nukureka and that's we call it Ava Manavanga, where your town.
Where it goes out to the open ocean?
Yeah, I fell over there to the ocean.
So in here.
Right there, yeah, down to the lagoon. Go close to.
So who was with you? So you fell in the ocean. Who was with you on this canoe when you're kind of crossing from here, coming back towards your home?
Yeah, that's the older sister of my mother live in Paisiesia.
Okay.
And I fall. It was kind of rough, the ocean. And I fall to the ocean. I was in front of the canoe. My dad was in the back of the canoe, rowing the canoe. When I fall, I was lucky. My dad reached down and caught me on my legs.
How old were you?
Around 2 to 3 years old.
So a little toddler. Okay.
Yeah. And I was lucky he caught me on my legs.
While he's rowing. So he hasn't
Yes.
stopped anything.
Yeah.
As he's rowing, you fall in and he just happened to reach out
and caught me.
Because the weather is really bad, right?
Yeah.
And so It's you, your father. Who else is on there?
my mother,
Your mother,
and my mom whole totai, number
the little
4,
baby. Okay.
and my sister and my brother, older brother, in
So six of you on the canoe.
yes, I was in front of the canoe,
Okay.
and I fall down, and I was lucky, and I believe I was saved to do that work because if my dad didn't caught me on my legs, there's no way for my dad to leave the whole family on the canoe and he jumped to get me.
Yeah, because the weather was really bad.
Yeah,
Because if he were to try to jump and get you, that would put everyone else's life at
yes,
risk. So
I
this
was
was a
lucky.
simple calculation. One shot to save Fare, and if not, then one is lost is better than six lost.
Yeah, and I was the black sheep in the family when I grow up because whatever I want to do, I know I will be whipped by my dad later, but I did what I want to do. And my dad always bring up that day. I don't know why I saved you to being.
Caused me so much trouble.
Yes, my dad keep bring it up, but I know my life. If I didn't have the talent to be a very mean, deep, strong person, there's no way for me to done that job.
Yeah.
And I know why God gave me that talent because when I want to do something, I don't care how much money, how much work, I jump in and do it. And I know that's the only reason why I get that job. And I know that Tupou the Fourth gave me that job because the king know the history of our family. And that's why he said to do the job for our country. Because I was dumb enough to do it no matter what. And how
Uh,
many times my dad mentioned that, and how many times your mom mentioned that. That's all you make me work, work, work.
no, 100%. And I think that is a very important aspect. And like you said, our ancestors did not find Tongatapu by chance. They were led there by our God, Hikureo, who is the same God of Israel, and the God that Christianity restored that knowledge back to our people. And it's not by chance that you were saved that day. And I'm grateful you were saved that day, or I wouldn't be here. And then all this other information that you've worked on as well wouldn't be here. So I think that's a good place to end. I appreciate your time, Dad. And as we mentioned to our listeners, we're going to have a playlist that is specifically going to go over different topics and different ideas that Tevita Fale has brought up from our history. And when we say our history, and I really want to reiterate this to our listeners, I know we mentioned Tonga a lot, but when we mention Tonga, we're really referencing all of Polynesia because we were all one country. We were all one country, one people. We worshiped the same God. We all had the same knowledge, and that's the same people that we are today, and that's the work that we can all benefit from. With that being said, thank you very much, Dad. And until next time, thank you very much.
Thank you.